Did you know that you don't necessarily need to have a computerised sewing machine to be able to do embroidery? I'm Ollie, this is SimplyStitchy. I'm going to show you how you can do embroidery on a mechanical domestic sewing machine from the 1970s. When most people talk about doing embroidery on a sewing machine, they're usually talking about a machine like this one. This is the Brother SE625 and it's a combination sewing and embroidery machine, which means it can do both. It's also a computerised sewing machine, which means that it has embroidery patterns built into it and it will automatically stitch the design. Now obviously the embroidery that you can do on a manual sewing machine like this one is going to be a little bit limited. Designs like this one are computer programs and they're in a specific embroidery machine format. In this particular case it's a Brother format, which is the .pes, and these designs are only readable by machines that are capable of reading .pes files. For this machine, although you can do something that's called thread painting, you have to do it slightly more manually, and I'm going to go through a basic overview of how you can do that on this machine, but it's not going to be as intricate as this one. This is Rocksteady Eddie. He's my Singer Touch and Sew 640 and he's capable of doing either a straight stitch or a zigzag stitch. Now, to do embroidery on a domestic sewing machine like this one, you don't necessarily need zigzag, but what you do need is the ability to lower the feed dogs, and you can on the Touch and Sew pretty simply because it's got a nice little lever that you can just push to where it says darn, and what it does is it raises this plate here so that it stops the feed dogs coming into contact with the presser foot. Now I've got a video on my channel at the moment that I'll put a link in the description box below for you that shows you how to disable the feed dogs on a sewing machine that hasn't got the ability of lowering the feed dogs. The reason why you need to disable the feed dogs or stop them coming into contact with the fabric is because the style of embroidery that you can do on this type of sewing machine is known as free motion quilting. And to be able to do that, you need to be able to move the fabric in all sorts of different directions rather than just the normal straight front to back. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is set up the machine. For this particular machine, that means setting it on a straight stitch, which is A on this bottom control and K on this top one. I've also got this control set on 3 and this control over here that says how many stitches per inch you get is set to where it says fine. The next thing to do is to remove the presser foot. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw on the fabric so that I've got some lines to follow with the sewing machine, because it's always a lot easier when you've got something to follow. And I'm going to draw my usual little tiny flower. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of this Stitch and Tear stabiliser on the back of the fabric just to give it that extra bit of stability. And this is what the stabiliser looks like. And this is the stuff that I use with my Brother SE625, the embroidery machine. And it just helps to stop puckering and that kind of thing. I'll put a link to this in the description box for you. It's going to be an Amazon link because I'm an Amazon affiliate. It doesn't cost you any extra to use the link, but I do get a small commission and that helps support this channel, and I appreciate it if you do use the links. Only really needs to be big enough for the actual design. Okay, now this is an embroidery hoop, and this is just a normal embroidery hoop that you'd use for hand embroidery. It's not a specific machine embroidery hoop by any means. You can get these from Walmart, you can get them from places like Amazon, and you literally just put it behind the design and then just sandwich the whole lot together. Okay, it's going to be a bit of a tight fit, but then you need it to be a little bit tight because you need that drum effect. And you can pull just to make sure that you don't have any creases in there, and then just tighten that up to hold it in place. Now I have already practiced on the machine with some free motion quilting. What I was doing was checking the settings, making sure that the machine was happy to do free motion quilting and making sure that I could get the tension right. And I've done that off camera, so obviously you don't have to sit there and watch through the boring bits. But I will tell you what I found out on this machine. The touch and sew that I've got prefers to do this kind of work with a straight stitch, which is why I've got Eddie set to a straight stitch. You might find that yours works better with a zigzag stitch. It really depends on the machine. And you'll notice that there are areas that aren't quite stitched properly, and those are the areas where I've either gone too fast for the machine or too slow for it, and it needed to go just that little bit quicker. Now if we take a look at the back for a minute, you'll notice these like fuzzy bits. That's an indication that the tension wasn't quite right, so that's something that I need to address on the actual project a little bit better. And most of this is down to user error and a lack of practice. The more you practice free motion quilting on a sewing machine, the more you doodle with it, the better at it you will be, and the less likely you'll get this kind of effect on the back. If you have any trouble getting your hoop under your needle, which does sometimes happen, just take the needle out while you slip it under and tighten it back up. First thing that I'm going to do is bring that bobbin thread up to the top. There you go. Now, as I say, it does take a little bit of practice. To not just get your stitches even, but also to make sure that you're actually on the lines. So don't expect to be able to do this on any sewing machine straight off the bat. You are going to have to sit with it, play with it, mess with your settings and get it set up in a way that suits you and your machine. As you can see, I've broken my needle. You have it, a free motion flower on a Singer Touch and Sew. There's the back. Overall he hasn't done too badly. It's not as neat as it could be, but then that's probably down to my skill level rather than the actual sewing machine. Free motion quilting is still something that I'm working on personally, so although the sewing machine is capable of doing it, I need more practice. But as far as is it possible to do embroidery on a Singer Touch and Sew or a normal domestic sewing machine, the answer is yes. Is this something that I'd attempt to get on a Singer Touch and Sew? Probably not, because in all honesty I think the video I did with the Singer 66, this one, where I doodle with that one, turned out a lot better and didn't take as much messing about with as I've had to do with the Singer Touch and Sew. And I think that's one of the main issues people have had with the Touch and Sew in particular, in that its name sets it out to fail straight off. Touch and sew. You can just touch the machine and it just does what you want it to, and that isn't the case. To be honest with you, I don't know many sewing machines that you can do something like this freehand straight from the get-go. Whichever sewing machine you decide to do embroidery on, you are going to have to play with your settings. You are going to have to get used to moving it backwards and forwards, changing the speed, changing how fast you move your hands to match the speed of the sewing machine. It's all going to take practice. And that's a good thing, because we all know that practice makes perfect, and before long you will be able to do embroidery without thinking about it on a standard everyday domestic sewing machine. I hope you liked today's video, and I hope it's given you the confidence to give embroidery a go on your standard domestic sewing machine. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up, and why not subscribe and click that little bell just down there so that YouTube can let you know when I've uploaded another video. You could also check out some of the other videos I have on the channel at the moment using the links coming up on the screen any minute now, or the ones I'll pop in the description box below for you. Whichever video you do go and check out, hope to see you back here for the next one. And in the meantime, whatever you're sewing it with, embrace your creativity and have fun. Thank you ever so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.